interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Yo, it's Remember the Show. Slick with the flows, where the sparring can go. Who's gonna be on, man, you never will know. Guess you better tune in, cause we live from Chicago. Belal Muhammad, that's the king of the tweets. Jason Anik looks like Jon, step his hands to his feet. Every Thursday, we gon' give you a treat. It's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat. And retweet, and retweet, and retweet. And retweet, it's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat.
What is up? Thursday, March 9th, 2023. Episode 93, Remember the Show. As always, we're presented by the Anik and Florian Podcast Network. That's my guy, as you know, the star of the program, Belal Muhammad, going to be fighting for the welterweight belt soon. My name is Jason Anik. Appreciate y'all being with us. A little afternoon tickle for us today. Got first training session in. How you feeling, man?
Good. Just got back now. Today's grappling day. Nacho's getting on point right now. He's getting to that point where yesterday was sparring day and, he's in fight shape already. And then when Nacho's in striking fight shape, it's like, I don't want to spar with him. I was like, I want to stay away from him. He starts getting mean.
Yeah, and you had a little. He gave you a little cut at some point back in the day at not necessarily an opportune time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where I tell people, I'm like, man, like he's one of the best strikers that I've ever gone with. And me and Horacio will be like outside the cage. I'm like, you go with him 2 rounds. I'll go with him. No, you go with him. I'm tired today. And I was like, bro, no, you do it. So we're like picking back and forth. Like even when Gerald was down here, like I'm like happy when those guys are down here because they could take some of that burden off my back. But now Horacio's hurt. Gerald's in Florida. So now I got to give Nacho 3 hard sparring rounds. And I'm like, all right, today's grappling day. I'm about to kill you in grappling.
Yeah, right. I love it. All right, we're going to get right into it. 5 quick topics for you. Love doing it during the day, right? I don't have to have my light around my camera, Cody. It's just a piece of cake, nothing plugged in. Anyway, so we don't always go back and look at the previous week's cards on this show, but today we're going to do it. So Jon Jones, the greatest of all time. I guess hard to argue at this point. I don't love the GOAT talk, but, makes easy work of Cyril Gane. 2 minutes and change into round 1. Guillotine choke. I said that guillotine like this thing with the L's. I love it. I'm fascinated to hear your breakdown. I will say GM3, who was on our program last week, and he was talking about the wrestling strength of Jon Jones, just of all the years of wrestling. And he really shifted my perspective a lot and talked about sort of the body and how he looked physically, just being irrelevant. We're not all going to look like a rock like Belal Muhammad when the shirt comes off, but I was fascinated by that. So it really sort of changed my perspective going into it. Certainly Jones claims, he's got all the strengths in the world to dominate 300-pound men, this, there, and everywhere. So anyway, huge main event. What a night. Jones, the GOAT.
Yeah. I mean, he came out there and he did basically what we thought was going to happen if it hit the ground. A lot of people are like, oh, how's his standing going to look? How fast is he going to do? When he walked in and he did that cartwheel, I'm like, bro, that's a fat cartwheel right there. He looked very athletic. I was like, oh, he still got it. And even with his stand-up, like he was putting pressure in right away. Very good movement. He didn't hit a spin, but like he showed a spin. So I think he got comfortable right away. Then once it hit the ground, I think, like you said, there's levels to it. And I posted yesterday and I'm like, people were like, oh, well, Gane should have did more wrestling during his camp. And you're not going to get better in wrestling in one camp. That's what outside of camp. And I have no fight ahead of me. All I'm doing is wrestling. That's all he should be doing. I don't have no fight in the books right now. We just had a wrestling practice. And I think that's the difference between guys that, they're honest with themselves. You got out grappled by Francis Ngannou. You should have been doing nothing but wrestling your last 2 or 3 fights. I don't even care if you're going against Tai Tuivasa. You still should have been wrestling that whole camp. It shouldn't have just been like, well, I got Ty, so I'm not gonna go against. He's not gonna shoot on me, so all I can do is strike, and I'll take him apart. I'm going against John. Oh crap! Now I should do a little bit more wrestling. That's not the case. That's not what a fighter should be doing. If you want to be a champion, if you want to get at that level, you have to be good everywhere. And I think Gane showed that maybe he was honest when he said, "I only train when I have fights."
Right? It took the words out of my mouth. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like. You're at the highest level right now, and you're going against the toughest guys in the world. Now you know what it feels. You know what it feels like to get dominated on the ground twice. Now, if that doesn't change your mind and make you think, oh, I'm going to go take a bebop on the offer and go to Dagestan, I don't know what will.
Right?
Yeah. No,
I
I
hear
mean,
you.
Jones, that guillotine looked tight. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he tapped early, but we grappled the next day. And while I was out there in Vegas, and Hector Vasquez, who coaches a lot of the fighters in jiu-jitsu, he like broke down the choke to all of us. It was like me, Islam, Luke was there, and it was cool. And he broke it down to how he got it and how he just sat on his neck. So there's a lot of pressure on his neck with that choke, especially with a guy like Jones who knows how to use his weight and that extra 250 pounds all sitting on your neck. I understand why Gon tapped out so quickly, but you put yourself in that situation because you weren't training those situations. Like, you should be in bad positioning this whole camp. You should have been like, let me get up properly without doing this, this, and this, because Jones is so good everywhere. And I just don't think he had that mindset when he was training.
You know, I'm certainly happy for Jon Jones. And I said last week, like 3 years away, I don't remember every minute of every fight like Belal. So for me, it's really nice to see this guy in the octagon again. And certainly just great for this sport. There's been this sport just, it's like we always talk about, you know, it's like Francis Ngannou. It's like, what? Like, yeah, like I'm really like, I feel for Eric Nixick, our boy, you know what I mean? Like and don't get me wrong, I'm sure the boxing money will come for that camp, but I couldn't help but just wanting Eric Nixick to be in the building for that UFC moment. You know what I mean? For, you know, and have it be Ngannou, regardless of all the other components, you know? So I don't know. It is what it is. I would have loved to see Nixick and Ngannou and that be in the blue corner.
Yeah, that's obviously the biggest fight that I think could have been made. I'm not saying the fight would have went any differently, but that was the fight. Like when people talk about boxing and now how we're getting like Gervonta Davis and right now, those are like the biggest names going right now. People want to see the biggest fights. The biggest name was Francis. The biggest name was Jon Jones. That's who Jon Jones said, you know, I'm coming up to heavyweight and I want to beat the baddest man. The baddest man was Francis. He beat Gane. But like I said, Francis is not there. Jones went out there and he beat Gane way better than Francis did. And I know it's not MMA math, but like Francis went in there with an injury. People can say all of that, but like Jones went in there and did what he had to do. And he dominated a guy that's never been really dominated ever.
It's a great point. And I have to say, I mean, I think this heavyweight division has a lot of depth, and I think there are a lot of interesting matchups for Jon Jones. And not to take anything away from Jones, but you get Cyril Gane, who I think Jones sort of broke down as being somewhat limited before the fight. And then you're going to get 40-year-old Stipe, with all due respect. And look, I'm not, you know, maybe Stipe win. I respect Stipe, maybe, but to me, it's like, I think there are some matchups even a little lower down that could be very interesting and very challenging for Jon Jones.
Curtis Blades was like sitting right behind me. I'm like, bro, you need to get up there, tweet.
Right?
Have to pedestal do something. And he's like, oh, yeah, you know, I got my fight. I'm like, bro, still tweet out. Like, that's I think one of the most dangerous matchups for
absolutely
Jones. His wrestling is so good. He's fast on the feet. He only loses the guys with one punch knockout power. And I mean, DC already said it. Like, Jones really doesn't knock guys out with one punch. He breaks you down. He breaks you down with elbows. He caught DC with a head kick. So Blades, he's good enough to keep up with the wrestling. He's good enough to keep up with the grappling, the scrambling, and his footwork and his feet on the feet. His stand-up is great too. So I think that's one of the most dangerous matchups. You got to get past the freaking the powerhouse in Pavlovich. And Pavlovich does have that one punch to knock out power where Blades usually falls short. But if he gets past them, I think that's the fight to make.
What's up,
Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis are fighting this weekend, which wasn't even on anybody's radar because now Jake Paul and Floyd Mayweather were going at it in Miami after a basketball game, huh? What did you think about that, Belal?
It's funny. I'm sitting there looking at people like, bro, people are like, oh, man, what a coward. He ran away. I'm like, 90% of the people will run away. Did you see the video, Jason?
No idea what you guys are talking about, but I love it.
Mayweather and his crew, literally like 15 dudes were outside at the Miami Heat game, and they're all like talking trash to Jake Paul. Like, hey, yeah, let's go. And then one of the guys starts shouting out like, yeah, hit him. And then like the guys are like walking up on him, and then he like takes off running. And then like fans on Twitter and stuff are like, oh, what a coward. He ran. I'm like, bro, there's 50 dudes in front of you. Just because you're a fighter and you know how to fight doesn't mean you should fight 15 dudes. And especially for a guy like Jake Paul, where there's a lot of people that hate him. And now in the social media era, people are waiting for that moment to go viral and post, look at me kicking Jake Paul in the head. Yeah, ha, ha, ha. Like, people are just so stupid right here.
Well, and I will say, I've been jumped before by 3 people. I didn't get a scratch on me, so the 3, I don't know what you're doing, but nobody's sitting around wanting to get jumped by Floyd. Floyd's gonna be like, call Voltron, and then he's gonna assemble, 6 of his biggest dudes out there. I don't think Jake Paul did the wrong thing, and also it kind of fits his persona, right? Like that. Before the Fury fight, when he was like, "Ha ha," he's just like, I just imagine him doing that laugh as he's running away, like, "Ha ha," like, I got you.
Yeah, but like exactly. But I'm sitting there looking at it like people are like, it doesn't even have to be Floyd security guards that are going to hit him. It's the regular fans that out there that are looking at like, oh, let me show Floyd that I'm on his side. I want to be Floyd's boy, and they're just waiting for that one moment. You never know what somebody has on him nowadays. People have weapons all the time, and I'm like, him running away. Yeah, he got money. He gets paid to fight people. You can hate all you want, but he's still laughing himself to the bank, and now he's laughing himself to the bank healthy instead of with a viral video of him getting jumped, beat up. Some guy like posted like, oh, I got jumped before. All I had was a broken orbital bone. It was fun. I'm like, bro, broken orbital bone isn't fun. I don't know why is that fun to you?
And, I don't know if Colby Covington saw George Masvidal coming, but he would have preferred to run, right?
Steakhouse? Was that Poppy's Steakhouse?
No, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I would have rather run than take that hit and broke my tooth or something like that. Or like I said, there's a difference when you're in the cage and you're fighting and you're professional and, you're getting paid extra money for it. But if you're on the street, there's no need to fight. There's no need to do that. And especially when it's 10-1, like why?
Well, and we jab at Kobe, sure. But do you think Kobe wanted to spend the last 18 months not fighting, not earning money? Like, obviously not. He didn't want to do that. So
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know.
It's a convenient way not to fight Belal Muhammad, obviously. And then you got, the Shavkat out here trying to skip the line. Like, get in line, buddy. I don't know who you think you fought, but nobody wants.
Shavkat just need to send Bully one of those hats. Okay, start there. Just give Bully one of them hats. Let him wear it around. That's all the conversation.
I was looking at it. I was like, dang, I should go ask you for one of those. And it's cool. Like, I know it's coaches and stuff. Like I said, it was people were coming at it. I was like, bro, what do you think of it? I was like, dude, it was a great fight. He looked good out there. It was obviously to be 17-0 with 17 finishes is nuts. And it was definitely a dominant. It wasn't a dominant win like he was used to. I think it was kind of like the Jeff Neal, Gilbert Burns against Hamza, where now he's finally tested by somebody, and we saw what he was made of. On the other end, Jeff Neal did come in 4 pounds overweight. He wasn't the same Jeff Neal in the great shape, but Jeff Neal was catching him. And I think that we learned a lot from it. We learned that he's tough. He does have a chin, but also that, you stay in the pocket too much and you're brawling it out with a guy that does have knockout power. It comes to fight IQ and just being smarter with it. And Jeff did a really good job of defending his takedowns, wrestling off. That choke at the end was nasty to get him on the feet, to get him down on there. But yeah, man, we got the title fight next week. I'm very interested to see what happens with the UFC and how it plays off. I think we'll get a lot of questions answered next week with what's going on. Like I said, we've asked to be the backup. They didn't give it to us. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a backup, if Kobe comes out of hiding, and maybe that's it is. But none of it really makes sense to me. But I think we'll know next week what happens. Like if Usman wins, I don't think there's anything in front of him but me. He's ready being Gilbert. He's ready being Kobe twice, Masvidal twice. Like there's no other way of spinning a story where you could do somebody else besides me. And I'm interested to say how the UFC spins it or how they want to do it. But that's the fight to make.
So Cody, if you don't mind, we'll hop to topic 4 and talk about this London. So Bully, today's Thursday. My brother John is flying out of Florida on Tuesday, right? So we're only a few days away, right? So let's just assume for now that you're going to be in Chicago watching this fight, right? So what are your emotions like? Are you excited to watch? Clearly, your points are very well taken of how the fight could play out, for you. But are you excited? I assume you'll be with your brothers. I mean, are your emotions, where are they at for this?
I mean, obviously, I'm excited to see it. I'm just happy for it to be over with so we could see what's going to happen. I'm realistic and I understand how the game's going to work. And I could see it in front of me, how it's going to play out. And for me, it's like, if Leon wins, I could see that fight not happening. And I could see them, he hasn't fought Kobe, he hasn't fought Gilbert, he hasn't fought Masvidal. And they're going to try to spin it to one of those fights. But if Usman wins, I'm going to be the happiest guy in the world because I don't think there's anybody ahead of me. And I want that to be the case. Like, I could care less who wins. I wanted to be the guy to beat Usman, but Leon already did that. I want to be the guy to beat Leon, but I know that if Leon wins, it's going to be spent in another direction because he hasn't fought everybody. Usman has already fought and all the other guys. I'm still the only guy that really deserves it. I'm the only guy in the top 5 in the top 10 that's beaten 3 top 10 guys in the division already. None of these other guys doing it. Even Usman hasn't been in the top 10, 3 top 10 guys. He's beating Gilbert and he's beating Kobe. And when he beat Leon wasn't ranked top 10. So Masvidal wasn't ranked top 10. And I'm the only guy in the division right now that has 3 top 10 wins. So it doesn't really make any sense why I'm not there, why I'm not sitting on the scale when I asked to be on the scale. But like I said, we'll see what happens. I just think it's their way of trying to spin it off. But I mean, I'm cheering for Usman here.
I get it.
Well, and Usman finished, right? I mean, if Usman goes out there and finishes Leon, there's no question. There's no rematch this, rematch that. Not that, anybody could really spin losing 24 minutes of a fight and winning in the last, minute to be really rematch worthy. But I mean, an Usman finish, I think really clears the lane for you. And, for the record, I did talk to our friend John Morgan over at the UG, the legend in the blue shirt, and he's got Belal Muhammad above, Khamzat Chimaev in the welterweight rankings. And from all accounts, Khamzat is not at 170. So the fact that he's even ranked still at 170 is kind of bothersome as well.
Yeah, those little things are what's annoying. It's like, all right, you guys keep saying Khamzat's going to 85, moving middleweight. So take him out of the rankings. Kobe shouldn't be ranked above me when Kobe's last win is the guy who's number 12 right now, Masvidal. The only guy that's winning right now, I should be the one that's number 2. I should be right under Usman, and I'm okay with being right under Usman. But like when you put that up there, when you put me right there, then it forces their hand to give me the next title shot. So that's why it makes me think like, all right, well, let's see how they're going to play it off. Because the way I'm looking at it is like, if Leon wins, we're definitely going to get screwed on the back end. But like I said, we're going to keep beating these guys, everybody they put in front of us. And if I have to go through every single guy ahead of me, once I do get the title, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to have rematches with everybody, or I could skip the line. I'm like, now I'm going to go to middleweight and be a double champ because I already beat everybody ranked in the welterweight division.
Loud and clear. And for me, I just can't get out of my head that I still think the idea that there would be other guys above you to sort of face Leon, I still can't accept that on any level. That they haven't fought him before. Well, neither have you. Neither of you. You know what I mean? Petr Yan, Aljo got another chance from the DQ. You know what I mean? The DQ basically. The fight didn't happen. And go ahead.
Night and day different circumstance with the way that fight. Like, you can go back and watch Leon versus Muhammad, and there's no way that you can be like, oh, Leon definitely would have won that. Like, go watch the Leon versus Nate Diaz fight. Like, oh yeah, like you were great until you weren't. And that's exactly what happened to Usman against Leon Edwards. So I think it's it's a mess. It's just a mess at 170. And then you got Shavkat trying to skip the line. And when he fought a Jeff Neal who had food poisoning reportedly, how does that fight go if Jeff Neal's healthy? I don't know. Maybe it goes differently. Maybe he doesn't finish him. Maybe Jeff Neal wins that fight. I don't know. I came out with more questions about Shavkat than answers, in my opinion.
Yeah. Either way, though, that shouldn't be Muhammad's problem, that fight.
Exactly.
Right.
Hopefully we'll get all our questions answered next week.
Exactly. All questions answered 9 days from tonight. So we're going to back it up to the pound for pound. I don't like the GOAT conversation. I don't really like the pound for pound stuff, but Bully, I just want to get your thoughts, right? So Volk did stay above Islam, if I'm not mistaken, but then so Jon Jones right at the top. And I guess, look, I understand he's now a double champ, everything he did. When John talks, my brother John talks about, if this was a basketball arena and you'd be hanging 14 banners in the Bulls arena, that does move the needle for me. So, hard to argue the pound for pound list I could rip up and throw away, but Bully, your thoughts on him leaping everyone to the top?
Yeah, I mean, I think he belongs there, especially the way he won and after 3 years off. And like people keep comparing him to GSP when GSP did it, but like GSP left right afterward. Jon Jones is going to stay. Jon Jones is going to defend the title, and he's going to be, a stable at heavyweight. Like now he's already looking at the heavyweight GOAT, who everybody thinks, and they think it's Stipe. So like that's who he's challenging out there. GSP, we know it was like one off. He got the title. Now he's gone. So he doesn't belong up there. So it's not the same comparison. For Jon Jones, the way he won, I'm just happy that, for me, I'll give him that he'll be the true number one pound for pound guy. We don't have to sit there and keep arguing with the Volk Islam thing. But I know that ESPN still has Islam as number one. So that's funny. They, like all these people have their different rankings. But it's just nobody cares.
I just think anyone that doesn't have John number one is trolling. They're just trying to get headlines and trying to get clicks. Like if Game of Thrones trial by combat, if you walk in and you say, hey, you can pick a UFC fighter to go out there and fight or you die, it's Jon Jones, and it's not even a question in my mind. It's not even close. But then I do think that there's an argument to be had for number two being Islam versus Volk in that scenario. But to argue that Jon Jones isn't number one, I think is ludicrous.
Yeah, man. Now that Jon Jones is number one, the trash talk is starting to come out. It's funny. And he's starting to come and pick at DC again. I'm like, bro, I want to see DC come back at heavyweight and fight him at heavyweight.
Me too.
I hear you, dude.
Right?
I said it to you privately. I was like, if I'm DC, I give Dana a call and I say, hey, what's the number? I mean, let's talk. Like, let's put little Daniel's son through college. Like, what does that number look like? Because that, to me, is a legendary pay-per-view number. Like, that could do a top 5 number, whereas that's kind of reserved for Conor McGregor at this point. And I think the pay-per-view last weekend probably did good numbers from everything I was seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the star power out there was crazy, man. Like Tom Brady was there, all these other guys. Tom Brady takes a picture with Islam, and Islam like tells Ali's sister, like, "Oh, brother, who is that?" Like, what? You don't know who Tom Brady is?
Like, let me take the picture.
It is amazing though. My business partner is from South Africa, and you can be sure he came here a few years ago. He had no idea who LeBron James was.
So, really?
Yeah, man, different world. Like, so
But does he know Drake is Duplessis?
Guaranteed he does not either. Actually, but
well, I bet he knows Oscar Pistorius, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, is he in jail? I don't know. But anyway, so I just wanted to have one last point about the Jones Blades Miocic thing. I mean, Blades versus Miocic, I think, is a heavily favored Blades fight. So it's very interesting that Stipe is still getting this like GOAT respect. Like, obviously, yes, he has the most title defenses at heavyweight. He beat Fabrizio Verdum in Brazil, which is arguably the last time that a heavyweight champion had a really strong, grappling and wrestling base. Sure, Stipe is a wrestler, but his best wrestling performance is against Francis when he didn't even know what a key lock was. So I think it's very interesting that like they're kind of putting that prestige on Stipe still, even though he kind of got dethroned by DC. Obviously, yes, he won the title back, but the road to DC or the road to Stipe still being the GOAT, I think, is a lot further away than maybe the promotion in things are going to make it look like. So I do think Curtis kind of is getting the short end of the stick in that manner, because that is the hardest fight for Jon Jones at heavyweight.
Belal, I was going to ask you, I mean, like, do you look at Stipe as the greatest heavyweight of all time in your mind?
I think Kane could have been, but yeah, when I'm looking at it now, I think it has to be Stipe.
See, and you made the point for me, because I can't get Kane out of my head when I think about Kane matching up against Miocic, but a lot of it does have to do with what you've accomplished. Tom Brady's the most accomplished quarterback in NFL history. Aaron Rodgers has 1 ring. He has more talent, more fun to watch, as good in a lot of ways, you could say. So I don't know. It's what you accomplish, and that's why Jon Jones, it's almost hard to deny him. Couldn't deny Alexa Grasso Saturday night, huh? So that was a great fight, man. So, starts out, she had a good start. I thought physically she looked very capable to be in there, physically matching up with Valentina. But Valentina definitely seemed to figure out her path to victory and was controlling the fight. One spinning strike attempt, and Alexa capitalizes, chokes her out, face is white. 3rd champion for Mexico on the books right now. PI coming next year. What a night for the new flyweight queen.
Yeah, honestly, that was crazy. For me, I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't think she had a chance. I knew that she had really good boxing, but we've seen her get controlled on the ground. We've seen her get kicked, and I thought that that's what Shevchenko would do: stay on the outside, kick her, stay out of boxing range, and then take her down. And she was doing a very good job of it. Even though Alexa, she looked like she was in great shape. She stayed in front of her the whole time. It's not like she was giving up on herself. She was still in the fight no matter what. She was landing some good shots. Yep. I think she definitely won the first round. So she did have her moments in the fight. I don't think it was like a dominant fight, and then all of a sudden she got lucky with that. She was in the fight the whole way through. But, for Shevchenko, for, fight IQ, when you don't need a spinning kick like that, especially you're moving backwards, your back's against the cage. Like, there's moments to do stuff, spinning stuff. There's right moments and wrong moments, and that was definitely a wrong moment. And for a champion like her to be so dominant for so long, and it just showed. Like, I'm looking at her now, and we've seen her last couple fights where she's starting to show weaknesses. She's starting to show a lot of error. And I don't know if it's age or maybe other girls are catching up and they're working that much harder and she's not working as hard. But these girls have caught up. I think Alexa Grasso is tough. And even if they do an immediate rematch, I wouldn't put Shevchenko as a huge favorite. When I first saw the odds and I saw Shevchenko, it was only 500. I was like, man, I don't know. I'll put it to 1,000. But now I'm looking at it like I would put Alexa Grasso as a favorite or just like a slight underdog if they end up doing a rematch.
What's up, Cody?
Well, I'm slightly jaded. I had a tweet written that was like, Valentina is going up 3-1. I'm sitting on some parlay tickets with Valentina. I'm like, come on, like, let's just skate out this decision. And as you said, Bully, that's not the time to do that. She had done the spinning wheel kick earlier in the fight, and it was 3 times as fast. You do that in the 4th round when you're exhausted, and that is essentially the only escape rope for Alexa is getting you out that way, and then you essentially open up the door to give her that one opportunity. I said it earlier in the fight as well. She had that flash, I think it was like a flash knockdown against Valentina. You only catch Valentina with those things once. She's downloaded it. You can't get her with that again. The only time you're going to beat Valentina is when she makes a mistake like that and you capitalize. And that's exactly what Alexa Grasso did. And as you said, Belal, it's showing kinks in her armor. And you have to wonder if the fact that, I don't know where she's training. I don't know who her training partners are, but I don't think they were jumping on her back as ferociously as Alexa was in training, which is what you need to stay at the top of the sport.
Yeah, I was training with the coach, Hector Vasquez, in Vegas, and he usually does his camps with Valentina. But this camp, he said I couldn't work with her this one because I was with Brandon Moreno for Brazil, and then I came back, and he works with a lot of Mexican fighters, and he's like, I didn't want to be against Grasso, who's a Mexican fighter too, so he stayed out of the line, and he said that I don't know who she was working with or who she did her jiu-jitsu with, but like if you're a Valentina, you're not going to go in there thinking that Grasso's going to go in there and catch you with a submission. I think you're thinking, her only chance to beat me is to catch me with a punch somewhere in boxing range, but you're not thinking that. So it was cool to see Grasso working on everything. They planned that spin. They seen that spin. They worked on getting through that spin. So it's always beautiful when you had the tape and then you show like, I was working on this the whole time. And it's a different type of move. When people showed Leon Edwards throwing that head kick, and they're like, he was working on it. That's just like a normal head kick. That's what he always does, that head kick. But when you're planning for a spin that your opponent's going to do, that's something specific that you're working on. And it just shows that they're working scenarios every single time. They're working these different scenarios that Shevchenko could pull out in the fight.
It's just
that
amazing.
Belal Muhammad level fight tape.
These champions, it's like in football, right? You can run out the clock with a lead. You can take a knee. And it's like when you think about Izzy, I think I'm thinking of the Pereira fight where if he got on a bike a little bit, where he's been criticized in the past. You even think about Usman, right? Just running around the cage a little bit and just getting out of any type of distance, right? And I'm not saying that this necessarily applies with Valentina because, Belal, all your points are right on. Yeah. But it really is interesting with such little time left and clearly controlling it. It's not the worst thing to be conservative and come out with the W sometimes, and it's that mental game, man, is crucial.
Yeah, she doesn't have any late finishes either. She's not known for having late. She's not known for having late finishes in her fights. All her finishes are early. It's not like that's something that she has in her arsenal. Really, like it really seems like it was just like a momentary lapse of judgment, which at the highest level of the sport cannot happen. I'm sure Usman was watching that like. Yep, happens to everybody. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, well, John always says and I think he said on the broadcast, nothing greater than them seeing a fighter realize UFC championship gold for the first time. I mean, imagine when Bully has that strap, just going to be waterworks everywhere. Don't put on John in the booth. It's going to be waterworks.
Me and Lou Taylor are going to be bawling. It's just going to see. I'm going to be there with Jason. We're just going to be a complete mess.
Yeah, but I might get arrested. I might hop that fence. What's up?
The one thing that I want to say about 125, and it's interesting that Tatiana obviously fought recently, right? If I'm Tatiana and I'm sitting at home, I would much rather stay at 125 and knowing that I have a severe grappling advantage against both Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko than go down and have to face a Weili Zhang Weili, because I think Tatiana is going to be a double champion someday. Put it in the books right now. I think that she'll be a 115 and a 125 champion. But as it stands now, I would stay at 125 if I was her, and I would get that title shot sooner rather than later.
Yeah, she was at the gym with us when we were doing the jiu-jitsu. Her boyfriend Patchy Mix was there, and I was like rolling with him. I'm like, dude, he's a beast. He's very strong on the ground.
And he's fighting
Rafian
next, right?
He's fighting Rafian for the title. And I was like, I got the feel for it. And then I told her, I'm like, bro, you got to get on the mic and start talking trash to these girls, and because like she has a win over Alexa Grasso already, and Alexa Grasso is a champion. She's like, no, I'll let my fighter do the talking. I'm like, bro, no, you got to start just at least tweet. Give me your Twitter for a little bit, because
seriously,
she's rolling with Patchy Mix every day. Her ground game is about to be another level, and we already know how good her wrestling is, how dominant she's been. And like you said, we see little chinks in Valentina's armor. We already know that Alexa Grasso has gotten beaten by Tatiana, but the thing I like about Alexa is she's getting better every single fight, and she's not saying the same fighter every single fight. You could just tell that she really lives, breathes, and eats the sport. I've seen her at the PI a lot of times, and now she's back in Mexico training with them. And when you have 3 Mexican champions and they're getting portraits painted of them, it's a different thing when you have a whole country backing you up now. Now it's a lot bigger than the sport.
Bro, I couldn't agree more. What your advice to Tatiana though is really like important, honestly. Like I know that you can say let your fighting do the talking, but if you're trying to even sell pay-per-views 3-4 years down the road that you're featured on, like it really, she's such a wonderful human being and such a good fighter. It's like even you, and you can even talk shit in a nice way. You know what I mean? But you are right,
like
man. Like I would love to hear from her out there.
Yeah. The Aaron Blanchfield way. That was the way to go. Like little things. And Tatiana's good at it. Like it's not like she's like
right.
She's funny. Whenever you talk, you have a conversation with her, she's good. I'm like, bro, just let it come out more, awesome. And it'll end up blowing up for her for sure.
All right, so skipping over.
Sorry, hang on one second. I think the understated thing is, I think with the setbacks that Tatiana's faced, I think mentally she's on a completely different level. Like to have to go through the setbacks that she has personally in the ring, training, re-injuring the knee, all of these things, like this is a steel trap at this point. Like that is something that I think can't be put onto paper and can't be understated for Tatiana. So like I said, I think she'll be a double champ someday. And I just think that I would rather see it at 125 first than go and fight Zhang Weili, because I think Zhang Weili is arguably the best woman in combat sports right now.
Yeah, and I might agree with Daniel Cormier that she's the best athlete he's ever seen, ever, man, woman, any sport. Zhang Weili, seriously. All right, we're going to skip over London. Maybe we'll talk about it next week when they fly Bully first class in the lay flat to London from Chicago for fudge. Anyway, Vegas 71 main event. Petr Yan, Merab Dvalishvili. So I've said it over and over again, and I'm not trying to be negative, but after that knee for Petr Yan, it's like I just don't think he's getting to the top of the mountain. I think the world spun in a way where I just think it's going to be tough for him to get back to the top. So his last 4 fights, so he had the DQ, then he has the close win over Sandhagen. Some people think Sandhagen won. Then loses to Sterling, loses to O'Malley, a split decision. Tough matchup here against the Georgian Dvalishvili. And I've said, so 8 in a row for Merab. And I've said this over and over again. I love the relationship with Aljo and Merab, but I would love to see the two of them face off. And maybe it's never going to happen. I hope Aljo moves out of the way, because if Merab can get this done as a 2-1, 2.5-1 underdog, what else is there for him 9 in a row? He's in the Beneil Dariush, Belal Muhammad conversation. Like he's 8, 9 in a row. You got to get a title shot here, regardless of circumstance. Gilbert Burns, Usman faced. Anyway, Bully, we are going to start with you. Petr Yan -275, Merab +210. Who do you like in the main event this weekend?
Yeah, man, it sucks if you're Petr Yan, because you are on a 3-fight losing streak, and you're going against another monster right now. I don't care how good your wrestling is. Merab is still a hard test for anybody in the division, a guy that's just nonstop conditioning, a guy that's going to shoot on you 20 times. And if he can't take you down, he'll just push you and hold you against the cage. He's okay with that. We saw that with Jose Aldo. The thing with this is, I don't know if the Merab is being a little bit too confident. I don't know if the moment's getting a little too big for him. He's trying to do a little bit, getting out of character a little bit, talking trash to Petr Yan a little bit. You know that Aljo won, and you're trying to say that I'm on the same level as Aljo, who's the champion. So you got a little bit of extra pressure on yourself to go out there and beat the same guy that your teammate fought. And if you're Petr Yan, it's like, I lost this teammate. This guy stole my belt. Now I want to prove it his best friend. I want to beat his best friend and kill his best friend while he's sitting there in his corner. So there's 2 levels there. But seeing Merab yesterday at the conference, and he was saying like, let us do a conference, just me and him. And I'm like, why are you worried about like talking right now? It's like, this is fight week. This is the time to fight. There's no need for no more talking or anything like that. You don't need a build up right now. This is a fight that people want to watch. So I don't know if he's just thinking about the wrong things right now. But Petr Yan, he needs this win right now. I don't know if I just can't see him losing 4 in a row. And I know his last fight was a close split decision. Even that win with Sandhagen was a close split decision. It could have went either way. So you're looking at it could be like a 5-fight losing streak for a guy that's good as Petr Yan. And I know the division is very good, but if you lose to Merab, there's no more title talks for you. It's like looking at a different division if you think you're going to be champion again. You have to start looking another direction. Striking-wise, Petr Yan is definitely miles ahead of Merab. Merab throws a lot of stuff just to get inside and get a hold of you and grab you. And I don't think Merab's wrestling groundwork is as good as Aljo, where he can control you on the ground and have those positions that he's so good at. Aljo was so good at holding him on his back and staying on his back like a backpack. Merab really doesn't have that. He'll take you down 25 times, but I mean, you're getting up 25 times. So Petr Yan better be in the right shape to get up and then throw a knee, throw elbows, because Merab's going to try to stay in your face at all times. And Petr Yan does have really good boxing, does have very strong hands. We've seen Merab get rocked a lot, and kind of like in a Moraes fight where he got dropped. But difference between Petr Yan and Merab is if Petr Yan hurts you, he's going to finish you. And then he's not going to take his foot off the gas. Once he hurts somebody, he goes for the kill. And I think that he's going to hurt Merab. Merab's going to get a little bit too wild, comes a little bit too wide with his punches, with his kicks. And I think that Petr Yan's going to end up catching him. I think we're going to get a finish here.
I like a great breakdown. It's very interesting when you talk about character and guys getting out of character. I think you mentioned something several months back with Brandon Moreno before a fight. You have a very keen eye for this. And I just think this is so important. You even think about Jon Jones with the tape job on the toes right before he went into the octagon. He didn't give a shit. Right. He didn't let that bother him at all. And he even spoke to John about that in the post show. Just like you can just sort of mentality is a big thing. And when
honestly, I think he did it on purpose.
I agree.
I think he did that on purpose, knowing that it was going to be a break, and then knowing that, Cyril Gane went to the cage before him, and that's going to put extra, when you're in there, you're watching, everybody's cheering for this one guy. It throws you off a little bit. And you're like, wait, what's going on right now? Why is he dude had literally a big glop of tape on his foot. And I'm like,
right. It wasn't just
why do you think he was able to fight with that? I'm like, bro, that was like, there's no way.
Well, and no attempt to use a sleeve either. You could easily put a sleeve over that and no one would even know that second tape is there.
Yeah.
That's why they got rid of it.
I think that he did it on purpose. And I think that he plays these little mind games and people are talking about it, and just little stuff, the way he talks, the way it's just a different war mindset with Jon Jones. And it was cool to see. And I'm starting to realize that these little tricks here and there, and these guys have a different mentality. When you're at that level and you're a champ, he pays attention to all these things. And he'll say stuff like, oh, this guy's playing video games while I'm watching his fight tape, fight week.
Right.
There's a difference. And people are like, oh, what do you mean? Cyril Gane just trying to get his head off the fight and everything like that, and trying to have fun. I'm like, bro, look where fun got you. He got you tapped out in the first round.
Dude, good shit.
Just a little thing. He didn't do the crawl. He acknowledged the nut shot and stepped away and made sure that it was noticed. Jon Jones, it's hard to argue that he's not the smartest fighter of all time next to Belal Muhammad, right? I mean, no question. But with this fight, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not biased. I talk to Ray Longo every other day. We're pretty tight. And I think that a big factor in this fight is the fact that it's at the Virgin in a small cage, 25-footer versus a 30-footer. The 30-footer, I think, benefits Petr Yan a lot in this matchup. But I think, Belal laid out kind of the case for Petr Yan very astutely, so I'm not even going to try and question that. My money is obviously going to be on Merab because I think the number's too long. I think plus 210 for this fight is crazy. Where I think it's plus 210 is because it's 5 rounds, 25 minutes where Petr Yan can catch you. He's shown that he has one-punch knockout power and that he can put people out. Merab has shown that he can be clipped by those shots, and he is susceptible, maybe to a little bit of the top game. Where I am going to put my money is on the over 4.5 here. It's plus 205 or minus 205. But if you take that and with the over 1.5 rounds or over 2.5 for Lipsky versus Aldrich down on the card, you're going to get about a plus 120 kickback. So that's what I'm thinking. I think this fight probably goes to a decision. I don't think Petr can put Merab out. I think Merab's going to win, but I do think that it goes to a decision. So that's where I'm leaning there. But I do think that the cage being smaller is a bit of a factor here.
So,
Did Merab do his whole camp in Vegas? Like, was he working with? I felt like I'd seen him there all the time, or like on vacation with Al.
Ray was hardly, he was hardly in Vegas for this. And I think that for the most part, a lot of those guys are spending, 3/4 of their time in Vegas, to the point where, I've been telling Ray, like, hey, maybe it's time to open Ray Longo West, open up a little 2,000 square foot facility somewhere with a padded room where you can just work out your guys. You know what I mean? And another interesting point I think that you guys made is about the PI. I think the PI is a huge factor for, fighters and athletes. If there was a PI in Chicago, imagine how much help that would be. And now with 3 champions in Mexico, I will ask you guys this kind of just to close it out. And I know you're going to go, Jay, but what do you think is going to be if they go to Mexico City and they want to headline a fight? Do you think that it's more likely that they have Moreno versus Pantoja as the headline with Grasso, Shevchenko, co-main? Or do you think that they would bring Yair and Volk as a headline to Mexico rather than do it in America?
Bully, go ahead.
I think you go with Yair. I think Brendan, he was saying that he doesn't like putting that extra pressure on himself fighting in Mexico. I think he likes fighting in Vegas and away from it. Because like I said, when you're fighting in your country, they have murals of you everywhere. Like it's a different type of pressure. Everybody's gonna be asking you for tickets. You don't want that extra distractions on the side. So I think that a guy like Yair, who's fought there already, I think he's already been through it. I think he'll want to do that more. And I think Alexa Grasso, she trains out there. She'll want to do that for sure. But I think Moreno, I think they're good with 2. I think with 2, they'll definitely sell out any freaking arena they have in Mexico.
I hope Volk comes right back to where he belongs and fights Yair. Like I'd like him to stay part of that. I would like Yair to have that opportunity to face Volkanovski. Certainly Emmett, I just don't think was on that level. Anyway, episode 93 in the books. Remember the show. We appreciate you all being with us. We'll be back with you next Thursday night. Hope maybe not. Maybe Belal will be on a flight to London. Hopefully that would make me happy. Anyway, for our director, Cody Merrow, and the great Belal Muhammad, my name is Jason Anik. We appreciate you all. We'll see you next Thursday.